Hi folks, and welcome to the how to create your product mockup tutorial video. In this tutorial I'll be taking you through the PSD templates that you have available, and I'll be showing you how to easily create these lovely 3D mockup graphics that you're seeing on your screen right now. This is a really straightforward process, and I'm just going to take you through the 5 or 6 really simple steps you need to do this. Okay, so the first thing you'll need to do is open up the PDF artwork of the design you're looking to create your mock-ups for. Now with this design here, we have 2 pages. If I come up here, you'll see we have 2 pages to this design. And what we need to do first, before we can do anything, is convert this into a couple of JPEGs. So I've opened this up in Adobe Acrobat, and to save this as JPEGs in Adobe Acrobat, we'll just need to come up to File at the top here. And we're going to come down to Save and Export, and then we're going to come down to where it says Image here and select JPEG. Now I've created a folder on my desktop here to receive these. If I click into that, and we'll just give it a simple name of postcard demo. I have my JPEG file option selected there, and click Save. You just give that a moment. And once that's saved, I have my folder open here. I can click onto these to preview, and we can see there that my 2 JPEGs are now ready. Now these 2 JPEGs are what we're going to be applying inside the PSD templates. And there really isn't much more you need to do in terms of setup than this. So what you'll need to do is, just to recap, you'll just need to open up any PDF artwork you have and convert those to JPEGs. Make sure you label them clearly and store them where you need them, because you'll need to get back to these easily later. Okay, so the first template we're going to look at is quite a simple template. As I mentioned before, these are Photoshop templates, so I would recommend using at least Photoshop CS6 or newer. You will need that in order to open these and operate them. These files. So what I'll do is I'll just draw your attention down to the bottom right here to what we call the layer palette. And in these layers, you've got what we are called smart layers. So this top level here and this bottom level here. Now these are the only 2 layers you're going to need in order to do this. And this is pretty much the same across all of these templates. Now, while the layouts may differ slightly, you may find that some of these layouts appear inside some of these folders maybe. Really what you're looking for is a layer with this little icon in the bottom right corner. And that is how you know that this is what's called a smart layer, and that is where you need to apply your artwork. So first things first, let's come down to this palette down here, and we're just going to double click on that icon there. And what that's going to do now is that's going to open up a big flat page like this. Now this represents where your artwork needs to go, and this is what's going to be transposed onto the 3D mockup. So once you've got this open, let's go ahead and open up one of your JPEGs in Photoshop. So here's one of the JPEGs I had open here. And then what I need to do is I need to select all of the artwork. So I'm just going to select this little tool in the top left here. This is your selection object tool. And once you've got that, we're just going to click and drag to highlight everything like that. Nice and easy. And once you've got everything highlighted, come up to Edit and move down to Copy. And once you've got that copied, let's head back to the tab we had open earlier with our flat panel. And then from there, we just need to paste this in. So we'll come down and click Paste. And there we have it. That's been pasted in. Now, you might find in some cases, like we do have here, that the artwork is actually a little bit too big for the panel that we have. If that's the case, just come up to here and select this little object tool here. This is your crosshair. Now, this allows you to resize your artwork. And once you've got that, come down to the little bounding box in the bottom right corner, and we're just going to click and drag and bring that in until that fills the space like that. And once that's done, press Enter on your keyboard to save it, and come up to File in the top here and move down to Save. And we'll just click Save on that. Wait for that to save, and once that's done, let's jump back to our 3D mockup. And you'll see now that that has been applied to your 3D mockup page. So you can get an idea of just how easy it is to apply your artwork there. So let's move straight on to the second panel up here, and it is literally the same process again. So we'll come back down to our layer panel, and we'll double click on this layer now. Double click, and you'll see now we've got another panel open here. Let's move up to our second PDF, or second JPEG, sorry, that we had open. And again, we'll just grab our selection tool. click and drag to highlight everything. And once that's all highlighted, up to edit, copy, and then we're going to head over to our blank tab that we just opened and paste that in like so. And again, it's a little bit too big, so we'll come up to our crosshair tool, come down to our bounding box, and we'll just pull that in. Now, sometimes your artwork isn't going to fit perfectly to the panel. As you can see here, we might be maybe a couple of millimeters off. In this case, I'd use my arrow tools on my desktop just to position it slightly. But I think for the purposes of a mock-up, it's not the end of the world if things are slightly out, as long as it looks okay visually. Now, once that's done there like so, again, we'll come up to File and make sure we hit Save. Make sure we click Apply on that. Okay, brilliant. And let's head over to our 3D demo again. And now we can see we have both pieces, both JPEGs applied to our 3D mockup. And at this point from here, what you can do is you can save this in any format you need to. I mean, of course, I would always keep the Photoshop file itself handy. So, of course, I would go straight away and save that. So we have a Photoshop document if we ever need to reference it again. And then from there, I would come down and I would export this as a JPEG to use online. Now, what I will do is I'm just going to take you through this is a very simple template. And like I said earlier in the video, some of these templates do differ in terms of their layouts and how these layers look. So what I'll do is now I'm going to go into a slightly more complex 3D mockup. This is for a folder, or sorry, for a brochure. And we'll just go through some of the different variable options and some of the things you might encounter along the way. Okay, so now I've opened up the brochure demo, and I just want to draw your attention straight down to our layer palette here, and you'll see here how this is slightly different to the last mock-up we looked at. You can see here the designs have been placed inside a folder. So if I click on the little arrow to spring that open here, and we'll see here that each one of these has been set into these little subfolders. You open up each of those. Now this is going to start looking a little more familiar. So we have those layers again with the little icon. So this indicates that these are the smart layers, and this indicates where we need to be applying our designs. So in some cases, it can be a little hit or miss. It's not always exactly clear what layer or what part of the mock-up you're applying your design to. What you can do is, if you look closely at these, you can see white squares that vaguely indicate where the design will be going. But because of the nature of how this works, like I say, unfortunately, it's not always clear. But the more you use them, the more familiar it will become. So I can see here by looking at the little white square in the icon there and the little white square in the icon here, that would indicate to me that I'm working on this booklet there. So there are ways to decipher. But like I say, the more you use them, the more familiar you will become. So I'm not going to labour too much on this because the process is very much the same as what we just did, albeit just a little dressed up a little bit differently. So let's double click on this icon here. And again, here we go with our plain canvas that we can drop our design onto. So I have my templates open here. Let's select all of this. Again, the same way we did before. Come up to Edit, Copy. We'll just navigate across back to our empty templates, and we'll just paste that in. Fantastic. As you can see in this case now, this is much bigger than what we have available here. Now, what I would need to do here is to use the zoom tool, and I'm just going to zoom out of this so I can see my artboard a bit better. And again, we'll just grab our crosshair tool, grab our bounding box, and just reduce that to fit. Now this one fits quite nicely, so that's perfect. So again, we'll just hit enter to apply my changes, come up to File, down to Save, and that's been applied. If I jump back over to my demo now, we'll see here that's gone on to the bottom left page there, just as I thought. That's looking great. So just for the purposes of this, I'll just do one more and we'll just whiz through this quickly. As I like to think, you're probably getting the idea at this point. Let's come down to our second page here. Open that up to get our blank canvas. Let's apply our second page. We'll grab our selection tool, highlight everything, come to Edit, Copy, over to our blank page, edit and paste. And again, we need to zoom out here, so I'll grab my magnifier tool and just zoom out. Back to the crosshair, grab my bounding box and reduce. Hit enter to save those changes, come up to file, make sure we click save, and that's it. Let's come back over to our demo, and we can see there now the second page has been applied. This is very much the same for every single one of these mock-ups. Like I say, the only real differences you may come across are the layouts of the layer panels, but the more and more you use them, the more familiar you should get. For the rest of our tutorials, I'll be focusing on the postcard product, and I'll be showing you how to set up your storefront product items, the catalog itself, the products, and the templates. And I'll be covering all that in the Build Your Online Storefront video coming up. And of course, this graphic here is the graphic that we'll be applying to our storefront, and I'll show you how to set up a postcard product.